Once again, we'd like to welcome everybody. Once again, thank you. All right, once again, we'd like to welcome everybody to the 2014 St. Genevieve High School Spring Sports Banquet. As I said before, this is a great opportunity to find out about the amazing accomplishments of our teams and our coaches and our athletes, and it's a great culmination of the seasons. Even though we've still got some seasons that are still going on, it's a great time to reflect back at the great things that happened this spring. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the coaches, and then I'll turn it over to them and let them start talking about the athletes. Starting to my far left over here, not Mr. Reynolds, but to his right, we've got our assistant boys track coach, Chris Thompson. To his right, our head boys track coach, Chris Warner. To his right, with the smile on his face because he's retiring after tomorrow, not from track, but from teaching, the head girls coach, Brian Jett. To his right, the assistant girls track coach, John Boyd. To his right, our one and only golf coach, Kyle Schweiss. Flipping to the other side of the table, is this the good-looking side or the ugly side? Which one is it? I got some answers out there. All right. To my right here, we've got one of our assistant baseball coaches, Mark Gibson. To his right, our head baseball coach, Mike McDaniel. To his right, and another one of our assistant baseball coaches, Cody Schwent. And to his right, one of our volunteer coaches. And when I say volunteer, I mean that absolutely. He gets paid nothing other than the satisfaction of helping our student athletes. And that is Jacob Dunsey. Before we turn it over to girls track, how about a nice round of applause for Cheryl Wolk and the kitchen staff for the fantastic meal. They always deliver a very good meal and hear nothing but compliments. Also, I want to take a second to recognize our sports booster officers, the ladies that you saw when you came in this evening. They do a fantastic job, also a volunteer. They spend a lot of time in the concession stands. You guys do as well, but they're the ones who are organizing who spends all the time in the concession stands. They come to the monthly meetings. They take time to pick scholarship winners. They take time to prepare these banquets and so forth. And again, it's all just volunteer. Our booster officers this year, Kay Womack, Kelly Solkowski, Pam Meyer, and Kim Palmer, spend a tremendous amount of their time just for our student athletes. So nice round of applause for them, please. They are a tremendous group of ladies. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to track, to girls track specifically, and Coach Jett has agreed to do all the speaking for girls track this evening. So you're up.
All right, you might be in for trouble. I'm bringing the drink up here with me. All right, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I would like to start with thank yous, and the first one on my list is the sports boosters. They do a great job with our athletic programs. I've never gone to them asking for something and been turned down, and I don't think many coaches have. So special thanks to the sports boosters. We host a lot of track meets, and we can't do that without a lot of help. So I have a pretty lengthy list of people to thank. Donna Hook, Bob Weiler, Tracy Newman, Matt D., Nikki Reed, Gabe Meyer, and Nicole Rutler all helped out at our home track meets. I'd like to thank our coaching staff, Al Engelman, he's our middle school coach, Jordana Walk, Dustin Keeker, also middle school coaches, Chris Thompson, John Boyd, Chris Werner, and we also had a volunteer coach this year, Jocelyn Dunlap. She did a great job with our hurdlers and helped out a little bit with the jumpers. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the parents. Without great parents, we wouldn't have jobs, and you certainly make our job a lot easier. It's, yeah, I think you understand the demands we put on your sons or daughters. At least you're tolerant of it. And big thank you to the parents. I'd like to thank the administration. Whenever we get ready to leave for a meet, Coach Nick says, "What time you want to leave?" And I say, "What time we want to leave?" And there's never any questions about it. And that hasn't always been the case. They're very supportive of athletics, and I want to thank them for that. I need to thank Mr. Nix. He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, tireless efforts. Things go a lot smoother when he's around. And lastly, I'd like to thank my wife. Okay, let's go on with the team stuff. If you look at the program, you can see we had quite a bit of success this year. I don't know how many meets we won, pretty many. At one point, a coach said to me, "You loaded it up again, didn't you?" And no, I hadn't done that, but we were just blessed this year with some pretty good athletes, both youngsters and older girls as well. I think the success of the season culminated with districts. We hadn't won a district title since 2006. We were runners-up a couple times, and we went down there, and on paper, we should have scored 113 points. We came back with 127. Almost every person that competed scored a point. So I'm going to have to get away from the mic so I don't pop my peas all night, but now what will I lean on? Anyway, pretty proud moment to win the district title. We've got a pretty tough district. You know, we got some sprinters from down south that come up, and if you know anything about the distance running in this area, it's pretty tough to compete. So great job with them at districts. We had several advanced to sectional round, and many of those sectional qualifiers also advanced to the state meet. But we'll get onto that a little bit later. At this point, I'm going to start calling up athletes, and I'm going to start with a couple of athletes that actually worked as managers for us this year. Claire Bosler and Allie Giesler, two gals that come on up. They've both been a part of the program for many years, and injuries kind of had them sidelined early this season, so they agreed that they would help out in the managerial position, and they did a great job, whether they were announcing at meets or keeping stats or fetching things for us. They did a great job, and I thank you very much, ladies. It was great to have you around. First athlete, and I just did this alphabetically, Emma Bosler. Emma had a little bit of a late start with us. She was recovering from knee injury. She didn't run her first meet until April the 29th. She's a tough gal, though. She ran the 400 and the 800. She ran the lead leg of a 4x8 and helped her team bring back some hardware. If she stays healthy, she could have a real bright future in track. Tess Bowman. She also started the season on injured reserve. I'm not sure, she was wearing a boot for, I'm not sure exactly why, but she didn't get to throw until late April either. Her opportunity saw her throw the shot put 23 feet 8 inches, and if she can stay healthy, she is a bright future as well. Kiki Benton. Primarily a sprinter. Her best race was the 100. Her PR was 13.89. She helped out in some sprint relays. She tried the long jump. We had to rename it. Her work ethic improved as the season rolled around, and she finally got in good shape. If she stays in shape or does a little more winter conditioning, she's going to have a great sophomore season. Jessica Boyer. started the first week or two. I'm being too long-winded, aren't I? She started the first week or two, and she jumped ship. She went back to the other side, and she competed as a sprinter the rest of the season. She saw some time on the 4x1. She triple jumped. She earned her PR was 27.9 3/4. She's got great work ethic, super personality. She's fun to be around. And Coach Ed, I got a question. We get to hear that pretty often. Kelsey Kieran. She threw shot and disc. She's currently the JV record holder. The discus throw of 110 feet 6 inches. She peaked at the right time of the season. She threw her season best in both shot and disc at the district meet. She advanced to sectional competition, and she gained some valuable experience. Her shot put of 32 foot 8 inches, narrowly missed placing at the district meet. She's got a great deal of potential. I look forward to seeing her progress. Natalie Engel. Nat's a pretty versatile athlete, primarily a hurdler. She saw some action in the sprint relays. I asked her to run a 4x8 for us one time. She ran a 2:38, pretty good split. Her season's best were 17.2 in the 100 hurdles, 49.10 in the 300 hurdles, and she pole vaults 8 foot 6 inches. So she's quite an athlete. She advanced to sectional competition in 300 hurdles. Good experience, and I look forward to 2 more seasons with her. Jess Finley. Oh, Jess. Okay, Maggie Fleet. Maggie's primarily a middle distance runner. She ran the 1600. Her PR this season was 6:29. She also ran the 8, 2:45, and she ran the 400 in 69 seconds. Don't fall off those. Because of our depth in the middle distance event, Maggie saw the limited action, but when she had an opportunity, she performed well. Like most of the girls on the team, her work ethic is extraordinary. Her attitude sets a great example for the youngsters, and I'm fortunate to get to work with her for another couple seasons. Camry Gettinger. She's one of our sprinters. She had a great season too. She scored a lot of points for the team. She earned PRs of 13.7 in the 100, 28.6 in the 2. She was a mainstay on at least one of our sprint relays. She long jumped with the season best at 14.11 3/4 at the district meet, where she placed 5th, narrowly missing advancing. She's a hard worker with a great attitude and a bright future. Hannah Giesler. Hannah spent her season with the distance crew. She's a very coachable young lady, and she's hungry to improve. She primarily ran the 4x8, the 8, and the 16. I'm pretty sure a race of choice would be the 16. She ran a season best of a 6:12, but her 800 time wasn't shabby either. She had a PR of 2 minutes and 46 seconds. She scored many points for the team this season and earned some hardware to go with it. Lindsay Gross. Susie Harlow. We had quite a crew of throwers this year. Susie's one of the many. She worked for Coach Thompson. She threw her season best with 22.6 in the shot and 65.5 in the discus. And we're blessed with a number of throwers, and the inter-squad competitions makes them all better. Amy Hook. Amy's a young lady who's starting to come into her own as a runner. She ran a season best of a 2:39 in the 4x8. She ran a 5:42 mile. Recently ran exceptionally well in the 3200. She placed 4th at the district meet with a time of 11:26. She advanced to sectional competition. This past weekend she placed 4th at the sectional meet, and will be representing the school at the state meet this coming weekend alongside Maya and Taylor. Normally, you're only allowed 2 in an event unless you meet a qualifying standard. We were able to do that in the mile and the 2 mile this year, and fortunate enough to get all 3 of those individuals through in both of those events. So we'll be well represented at the state meet in the distance races. Monica Inman. Monica ran the 2, the 4, the 4x2, and the 4x4, but her passion was the pole vault. This past weekend, she vaulted a personal best of 10.3, which is the 2nd best in school history, by the way. She advances to the state meet as our lone field event athlete, but is poised for a great weekend. I look forward to watching her live the dream she's had for 4 seasons. Maya German. If you know much about distance running, especially on the girls' side, if you can run an 11-minute 2 mile, you're in rare company. And we have 2 in our school that have done that, and 3 in this area. So, pretty good competition around here. And Maya's one of the better ones, one of the best in the state. She's ran some pretty amazing times this season. This past Saturday, she ran a 2:22 split in the 4x8. And when I started this business, if you could break 2:30 in an 800, you were pretty tough. And now, you know, they're running right at 2:20, and she's one of them. Her season best in 1600 is 5:10. If you could break 5:20 5 years ago, you were pretty much the king of the mountain. And we've got 3 that are sub 5:20. So that 5:10 puts her the 3rd fastest in school history. She's broke 11 twice this season, and this weekend she's going to represent us in the 4x8, the 16, and the 32. Mallory Kohler. She too is one of the best distance runners in the state. She's ran a season best of 2:22 in the 8, 5:12 in the 16, 11:33 in the 3,200 meters. She'll be running this coming weekend in the 4x8 and the 1600 alongside Maya and Taylor. J.C. Cornack. J.C. was a pleasant surprise this season. She ran track in middle school, and I was kind of surprised when she decided to come out her senior year, and I might have even said something too rude to her about it, about getting ready to wear the swimsuit. But her attitude and her work ethic were supreme, and as were her desire to improve. Girl, I'm supposed to be hiding behind you. As soon as she was helping the team win meets, she scored a couple points at the district meet. J.C. ran 100-meter hurdles. Her PR was 18 flat. She ran the 300s in 51. 4x4 in 65 seconds. I'm not sure what she's thinking, but I really wish she'd have came out earlier. But we still had a great season, and very much enjoyed having her on the team. Kayla Kreitler. Kayla worked with the mid-distance all season and survived some grueling workouts. Never heard a complaint out of her. The kids that work year-round are used to the intensity and the volume that the workouts contain, and they can be a little intimidating if you don't do it day after day. But Kayla seemed to be undaunted by it. Her workouts, like her performances, were solid and consistent. She ran low 70s in the 400 and slowly got in better shape. The depth on our middle distance side made opportunities difficult, but Kayla continued to work hard and wait for her chance. Riley Meyer. Alexis Palmer. Is she here? Madison Reynolds. Madison's primarily a hurdler, but she can jump and possesses pretty good speed. Her PR's 16:52 in 100-meter hurdles. She was, what are you, a sectional qualifier in that? No. She ran a 47.3 in the 300s. That was sectional qualifying time. She ran a 464.6, a 226.9. She long jumped 14.4. Madison is currently 4th on the school's list of the fastest 300 hurdlers. She's also 4th on the school's fastest list of 100-meter hurdlers. She's got a bright future indeed. Steph Smith. Steph started the season with a better attitude and work ethic, and it soon showed up in her results. She ran 114 flat. She saw action on both the 4x1 and the 4x2. She also high jumped, and her PR came at the district meet where she jumped 410. She placed 5th, scored some important points for us. With her better attitude and work ethic, Steph is poised for a great senior season. Addie Stiegel. I don't know how many girls we had throwing this year, but there's no shortage of them, and Addie was one of the better ones. She threw a PR of 26.11 in the shot and 64.1 in the discus. She's just a freshman, but she saw some varsity time and gained valuable experience. She, like many of these youngsters, has a bright future. Abby Stolzer. Another thrower. I think she threw both shot and disc, but the discus was her event of choice. She scored in several meets. Her PR was 85.9. Additional experience will make Abby a young lady to contend with in the future. And happy birthday. We'll do the birthday song, huh? Nicole Upchurch. Nicole struggled with some injury issues this season. Still, she was able to compete a few times. Her PRs included a 3:02 in the 8, 6:27 in the 16, and 13:33 in the 32. If she's healthy, she's tough as nails, and let's hope she stays that way now. Ashley Viax. Ashley's events are primarily sprinting and triple jumping. She's a member of 3 relays. Her season's PRs include 14.4 in the 100, 29.2 in the 2, 66.7 in the 400, and a 31.5 triple jump. She's a huge asset to the program and scored a lot of points for us this year. Shelby Werner. Shelby Rose Werner. She's a senior that's ran for me for 6 years. I have a rare opportunity to get to work with kids from the time they're 7th graders all the way through, and she jumped on board when she was in 7th grade. Shelby's earned multiple all-state honors in both track and cross. This season her duties were mainly on the 4x8 and the 3200. However, she did run the 1600 twice and the 400 once. Don't want to talk about that, do you? Her season's PRs include 5:42 in the mile, 12:15 for the 32, and 2:28 for the 8. But I know that's going to drop come next Saturday. She'll be running her last high school race this coming Saturday, where she gets to stick second in that leg of the 4x8 relay. Taylor Werner. She's had another amazing season. This past weekend, she won the 16, she won the 8, she won the 32. She anchored the winning 4x8 relay team. She set a new school record in the 1,600-meter run with a blistering time of 4:56. I think 4:46, you're right. Either way, it's blistering. She's poised to make history this coming weekend when she represents St. Jen in 4 events. Ashlyn Wilson. She spent the beginning of the season hurt, which puts a damper on you if you're doing longer events. She had the opportunity to race the 1600 a couple of times and wound up with a PR of 6:24. A little more winter training and good health will set Ashlyn up for a much better senior season. And Caitlin Yount, I don't think she's here. Okay, this is the 2014 girls track team. Just stay there, girls. I'm going to get out some awards and stuff. By the way, you clean up pretty well. All right, team awards. Me too. These are voted on by the girls, and I think I got a tally from everybody, with the exception of one. But at the end of the year, you know, a lot of stuff going on. We got ballots out, and this is the way things came out. The first ones I'm going to give out are medals. Outstanding relay runner. It was a tie. Camry and Ashley Biox. Outstanding distance runner. I wonder who that could be. Well, we've got some pretty good ones, but it's Taylor Warner. Outstanding sprinter, hurdler. Sprinter hurdler, Madison Reynolds. Most improved. Had pretty many votes for this one. Most improved, Amy Hook. Hustle Award. They all hustle, believe me. This one hustles the most, apparently. Hannah Giesler. Outstanding field event. This year's recipients, Kelsey Karen. And the outstanding track athlete, Taylor Warner. Thanks, ladies. Let's have a seat.
All right, what a great group of kids, and a very talented group of young ladies, and they will be traveling to the state track meet, which is Friday and Saturday, and competing once again for a state championship. It's going to be a tough, it's always tough to win a state championship at Class 3, but or any classification for that matter, but it's going to be particularly tough this year, but I've got confidence in our girls, and I think they're going to represent us very well. Up next is boys track, and Chris Warner has decided to do all the speaking about the young gentlemen here this evening. So, Coach Warner, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Nix. We're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to raise the pace on Coach Jett here a little bit. Had to dig him a little bit. He deserves all the time up here. He's got a lot of accolades. But boys, we're going to go quick, and I'd ask you to hold your applause till I get my whole team up here. Starts off with our seniors, Devin Brown. Devin was one of those seniors to come out this year. Had a hard time getting into our lineup, but was there every practice, did every workout, and I got to really pat him on the back for that. Luke Himmerla. You need to try and outwork Luke sometime. He's a big distance runner. Sorry, I'm excited, Himmerla. I wish you could have been at the meet to see him run the 3,200-meter run. It was awesome. Standing O that night. Andrew Moore. Andy's one of our big distance runners. He does everything from the 4x8 to the 800, 16, 4x4, 32, whatever I needed. He's a KTJJ Dream Team runner. He's all conference in 2 events, the 16 and the 3200. He's going to be running for Maryville University next year. Clayton Nagger. Clayton Nagger's one of our big sprint guys. Runs the 100, 4x1, 4x2, long jump. He's like a cannon coming out of the starting blocks. He was all conference also in long jump. Logan Nelson. Logan was a newbie to us, even though he's a senior this year. I sure wish we could have got our hands on him earlier because he made some great strides. He's very competitive and he's nothing too hard as far as the workout goes. Ran the 200, the 400, 4x2, 4x1. Great team player. Cody Reynolds. Kellen Stiegel. Kellen's our last senior here. Kellen primarily done the shot put this year. Had a great season. Extremely hard worker. On to my juniors. Joe Allen. Joe was our AKA relay guy. Joe was 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, kind of wherever, whenever we needed Joe. Junior Garrett Elder. Luke Gettinger, AKA Magnum, AKA Top Gun, AKA now new nickname Paul Bunyan. Lucas was another one of those sprint guys for me, ran the 100. Hated it when I put him in the hurdles, but I did it to him a couple times. Thanks, Luke, sorry about that. 4x1, 4x2. Anxious to have him back for next year. He's got some great speed. Joe Howe. Tristan Pounder. Dang, I had some good nicknames for him. Jonas Schwint. Honus is here, good. Jonas is a big hurdler for us. 110's kind of his specialty, but he's also pretty salty in the 300s. He also ran some of the 4x4 team for it this year. He's got some decent longer sprint speed. Jonas was a district, made it through the districts this year, ran last weekend for us at the sectionals and placed 7th in the 110s. Or, yes, in the 110s, sorry, Jonas. Harrison Womack. Harrison's one of our throwers. He tells me next year, though, we're going to make a sprinter out of him, big 200. He throws a shot and disc. On to my sophomores, Dalton Campbell. Dalton's a shot disc guy, although we needed him do a little sprinting on some of the JV stuff, and he was game along with some of the other throwers, so he ran a little 4x1s for us too this year. Did you run a 2x? William Ferris. AJ Gons. Gabe Harmon. There's Gabe. Gabe is a shot and disc guy primarily. Got going on our meets though. We needed guys. We run just a huge schedule and some JV meets and made kind of a runner out of Gabe, and I sure appreciate him buying in, and I think his future is in that with some more sprint training and stuff, and hopefully we get him competitive there. Zach Herzog. Leland Hook. Flounder. Leland is awesome to have around. He's just a lot of fun. Was a shot disc guy for us, although he ran a blistering 800 a couple of times. I have pictures to prove it from Coach Thompson. It's quite a sight. It's awesome. K-Jet. Kate's another one of the throwers. Primarily, especially is the shot. He was at the varsity level this year, had a couple of big throws. Although he did a little distance work for us and jumped in wherever we needed an extra guy in a relay or an 800 or something like that in any of the JV meets. Sean Oberly. Anthony Rowe. Sir talks a lot. Anthony had a great year for us this year. He's a pleasure to coach. He's if you know him, you know he's a mouth-shut kid, and whatever you got to do, let's get it done, and we're going to do it at a very high level. He's 4x1, 4x2, sprint guy, learning the triple jump, and is really coming to master the high jump. Jumped very well this year. 6'2" was his best. Thought we were going to get him to the state meet. Very close. He finished 6th in sectionals this weekend. Thomas Engelman. Thomas is my first freshman I'm calling up here. Thomas is primarily a distance guy from the 800 to the 32. He's really coming into his own, made some great strides this year. Pop's also teaching him the pole vault, so hopefully that works out. We need another pole vaulter. Brevin Garner. Brevin's one of our young sprinters. Brevin was good enough to fill some big holes for us at the varsity lineup. His specialty is the 400, although he ran the 2, the 4x2, some open 400s. He's got a bright future as a sprinter. Ben Nagger. Ben Nagger's, one of these kids that, is going to be an outstanding distance runner for us. He already is. He's got a very bright future for a very young man. He ran everything from the 4x8 to 16. His specialties, the 3,200 meter run. He was all conference in the 3,200 meter run. Ben got through the district in 4th and got through the sectional last weekend too in 4th place. So he's our lone state qualifier up here. We got some big hopes for him this weekend. Just need to mention we had a school record that was broke twice this year. First by Andy Moore, and then Ben broke that very same record this past Saturday in the 3,200 meter relay. Nathaniel Ogden. Augie's another one of our bright futures in the distance program. Augie runs everything from the 4x8 to the 3,200 meter, and he's getting really, really competitive. So, between him and his brother competing amongst themselves and the other athletes, they're really, shrinking their times down. Skylar, I know, had to go to a meeting. Logan Reinhardt. Logan's a freshman sprinter. His specialty in the sprints would be the 300 hurdles. I don't know if he'd agree with me. I don't know how much he likes those, but he's got a bright future in it. He was 5th in the sectionals in those this weekend. He's also a 100, 200 guy, 400 guy when we need him. He was also 5th in the long jump. He's got a very bright future. If we work at it, he can be something really special in the speed events. Jake Seibel. Morgan Uzel. Okay, I want to play just a real short game with these guys up here. So guys, you got to listen real close to these directions, okay? So you all got to stay in a real straight line facing the crowd. So just a couple of things with them. I'm going to ask these gentlemen to step one step forward if you were on the varsity conference squad that participated in the varsity conference. Take a step forward. I just want everybody to kind of see who our varsity level athletes were and the team that we made out of them. If you were on our district team, step forward. Never going to remember some people. If you were on our sectional qualifying team, stay out there. If not, step back to the line. So these were our sectional athletes right here. And if you're competing this week at the state meet, stay out there. Give him a big hand. Just a couple of team accomplishments for us. Was a great season. I've been involved with track for several years now, and my coaching role was primarily as the middle school coach, and had the chance when Coach Toombs decided to step down, step into his shoes and try and fill some really big shoes. I see you back there, Russ, so I'll give you some. There's just a lot of things to know in track. There's 18 events, and there's some similarities between the distance events or some similarities between the sprint events, but then you go to your 3 different jumps, totally different jumps. You got the vault, and then you got your throws, and then you throw hurdles in there, and there's just a lot of things to learn. So you really you try and soak as much of that up as you can. And in my first season, I couldn't have asked for a better group of guys. Not that they were necessarily patient with me, but they didn't, we got some old pros around here, and wherever you wanted to input, no matter who or where they were going to get it from, they just soaked it up. And I think that added to a lot of our successes. I don't think anybody really expected us to win the Old Settlement track meet. They expected us to be competitive, but we did just that. We had a great night. It was a great way to start our season our bigger meets through the season. The following week, then, we had even a bigger meet at home. It was the St. John Invitational, and we were second. We finished 4th in the districts. We were 5th in the sectionals, or we had 5 sectional qualifiers, and then we ended up with 1 state qualifier, who I believe has got a really good shot at being an all-stater this year in Bend. So give them a hand on their team accomplishments. I want to recognize 2 more people here. I have them come up and stand with their team here as we do our thank yous, and those are our managers. Josie Beagle, Beetle, there's Beagle. And Anna Heinzman. These guys were great help. They're around every meet. They're just tirelessly working with us, trying to do the stats, running after equipment. Just kind of thankless jobs, and they come out and they're every day. So we really appreciate all that you guys do for us. We'd like to end with a few thank yous on behalf of the team and myself. Parents, number 1, you guys are awesome. We understand what a hectic schedule it is in the spring, believe me. And I thank you for your patience there, but most of all, your support. I think to be competitive, we got to keep them going. And if you're around us a lot, you know that it is a really, really busy spring, but we appreciate all that you do. Fellow coaches, I was mentioning, what a wealth of knowledge that we have here. Not just our coaching staff, but some guys that aren't necessarily coaching anymore. We're really blessed here in this school, because there's some schools that track programs they just don't have a lot of knowledge, and it really shows when the kids get out there and compete, and you almost kind of feel sorry for them. But from Coach Jett to Coach Boyd, with their distance background and their motivation there, and they have a great plan. To Coach Thompson and all that he does with the throws. Coach Engelman and Coach Keeker with the vault work. Coach Walt, Coach Keeker helping me out with the sprints. We had a great volunteer this year in Jocelyn Dunlap with the hurdles. We welcome her to our staff next year at the middle school level. Russ Toombs, your help with long and triple jump. Coach Nix, not only as the athletic director, but coming out there and helping row in the high jump. Nancy Toombs, your expertise in all the computer and how we're running our high-tech system. You guys are all irreplaceable. We're really blessed here with a lot of knowledgeable track people in a lot of different areas. Would also like to thank Mike Boyd and the Herald for your sports coverage, and especially the Sports Boosters for a great meal here tonight and all your support throughout the year. Thank you. All right, we got a couple of team awards here. Going to start with our medal award winners first. Outstanding relay runner, Clayton Nagger. Outstanding distance runner, Ben Nagger. Outstanding sprinter or slash hurdler, Logan Reinhardt. Most improved, Kellen Stiegel. The Hustle Award, Luke Hemmerle. And the 2 plaque awards, Outstanding Field Event, Anthony Rowe. And the Outstanding Track Athlete goes to Andrew Moore. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure going out and watching you guys compete this year. Before we move on to baseball, I wanted to take a minute to thank another group of people that are behind the scenes. Brian Kreider and our evening custodians. Anytime that we have a home track meet, and really throughout the entire year with the various sports, when everybody leaves and everybody leaves their trash laying around or even in the trash can and the messes that we accidentally make and so forth, they're the ones who go out and they clean everything up and make our facilities shine and look nice. And we constantly get compliments on our facilities here at St. Genevieve, and they're the ones who keep those looking sharp after everybody's gone through. So I want to thank those guys. We'll move on now to baseball. We're going to start actually with JV baseball. Coach Gibson insists on speaking this evening. And after him, we'll have Coach McDaniel come on up. So actually, Coach Gibson, come on up, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say tonight.
I was going to thank Mr. Nix and Mr. Haney. I am thanking Mr. Haney, but I'm not thanking Mr. Nix for actually getting past all the rainouts that we had this season with the old man's paperwork trying to get out of school early. I mean, you tried to do a good job, but you didn't do very good. Mr. Haney, thank you for pushing that paperwork through and getting me where I needed to be. I'd also like to thank our managers for putting up with me. It's kind of tough. I've been here a long time, so it's kind of tough putting up with me. I've kind of got my ways set, and they did a good job of that again this year. And I know that Coach McDaniel's probably going to say everything I'm saying again, but he let me go first, so too bad. Coach Swint and Dunsey and Coach Wolk, who's not here, were also former players of ours, so it's really neat to be coaching with players that we formerly had, and I think that's something to be said for the integrity of the program. That said, you know, I have a great time coaching with Coach McDaniel. We've been doing it for a lot of years. If you've been in the dugout or close to the dugout, you've probably heard some of the arguments that go on during a game, and, you know, I'm always right. So anyway, that said, I just want to bring up all of the JV players, and I know some of you probably are not here, but hold your applause until they get up here. And my job is to make varsity players. And I just want to say this about the varsity squad this year, since I don't get to talk about the varsity squad too much, is that we just jumped a JV team right into varsity this year. And usually it just filters in. But because we had such a large senior class, the JV just jumped into varsity games. And we were a little nervous, frankly. But to tell you the truth, they stepped up and had a great season. And I'm proud of them. But the JV was 10-5-2, which was a really good record for those guys. And this is their names. You guys can come up. Brandon McKenzie, if you're here. Gage Moyers. There's only a few of you here, I'm sure. Matt Ballman. Alex Skegg. Brandon Henson. See, I'm too tough on them. I'm too tough on them. They just don't want to show up. They're a little scared. Blake Moore. There you go, Blake. Ryan Palmer. Daniel Vaith. And Richard Willimek. And coaches, did I forget anybody? No, you weren't paying attention? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, well, these guys are the JV, and they're 10-5-2, and I'm proud of their efforts, and we've got a lot of preparation to do before they become varsity players, but I want to tell you what, they made a great effort and a great season for Coach Swint and I. Without Coach Swint, by the way, I don't know what I would have done. He's a great asset to the program. A lot of times I'm with the varsity, and he has to go with the JV, and I mean, he's really has a lot to do with their development, and he's done a great job. And you guys, I'm proud of you, all your efforts, and I expect to see you out next year. Thanks a lot.
Good evening. I'll get rid of some of my thank yous here real quick too. Thank you to Cheryl Wolk for a lovely meal this evening. Also to the all sports boosters. I think all the coaches can come to the consensus that they do a great job, not just for us coaches whenever we need things, but I think anything that has to do with our athletes, they're all for. To my fellow coaches over here, Coach Gibson, Coach Schwint, Coach Dunsey, and Vince Wolk. These guys, make my job a lot easier throughout the course of the year. I can remember the days whenever you only had 2 coaches and you had 30 players. It's kind of hard to do as many things as you want to do whenever you have 15 people to 1 coach and have to cover as many aspects during the game of baseball as what you need to cover. These guys do a fantastic job. I have to tell Coach Dunsey congratulations. He just got a job over at Valley Caledonia, his first teaching job, so definitely congratulations to him. He will be missed and everything on the staff next year. He'll be getting paid a lot more over there than what he was getting paid here. To Coach Schwint and everything too, it was great to have a former player to be able to come back and be on the coaching staff as well. I think that Coach Schwint offers a little bit more of a young vibe that maybe we need, because I hate to admit that I'm getting old, but I am, and if I'm old, then never mind. And for Coach Gibson here too, he alluded to some of the arguments that go on sometimes, and I remember an argument a few years ago whenever something happened during the course of the game. I don't remember what it was, something pretty dumb, and I asked him, hey, what do you think about doing this? He said, well, if you want to lose, go ahead and do that. So he's definitely very honest and forthright, and whenever you talk about Coach Gibson, you're talking about over 50 years. That's half a century of experience, and he's pretty irreplaceable himself, and he's pretty good looking too. All the media outlets that we have, Mike Boyd at the Herald, Frank Kirshmer with Prepcast, KFMO, KTJJ, all the radio stations and papers that cover us, Matt King, Don Adamson out at the Daily Journal. Darren Jacobs and the city street department for doing everything they can to get our field ready. I know that it poses quite a problem, especially with Mother Nature being outside. The River Dogs and the Yanks organization for taking care of the concession stand for us. That relieves a lot of stress on Coach Nix right here. The Creative Touch, the Gegg family out there for doing a wonderful job this year, donating a jersey box to the memory of Dennis Fleeg, so we could give, a jersey box with Dennis's jersey encapsulated in it to Mickey and Paul. They did a fantastic job. Coach Nix mentioned something about custodial staff. You track people. I know that you guys have, you're able to go outside a little bit more because you don't have dirt necessarily to worry about. It gets muddy. So for us to be able to go inside and have the custodial staff take care of a lot of that stuff for us and be patient means a lot. To all the youth coaches that have been out here too, that have coached these guys, thank you so much for handing us some people that are knowledgeable about the game, which makes our job much easier. All the parents and relatives, all these young men, it's always nice to see familiar faces up in the crowd and a lot of green and white up on the hill and in the stands too. All the players for their hard work during this season, my parents who will never miss a game. If one of them does, there's a cell phone nearby or somebody else to give the other one an update somehow. All these textcaster alerts, if you guys don't have that, get that. It's phenomenal. It's a great way, if you're at a baseball game out in Potosi, you don't have to wait till the next day to figure out what happened with, some of the track athletes or, the golf athletes or something like that. It's a fantastic thing, and it's nice to see how everybody else is doing. On to our season, though. I thought we made a lot of strides this season as a team. Many people probably thought that losing 8 out of 9 starters to graduation last year would have left us pretty depleted and looking for a lot of answers. However, I think that our message to the players at the beginning of the year was pretty simple. You don't necessarily follow in the footsteps of others. It's up to them to make their own footprints. Now, I can't stand up before everyone and say without a doubt that as a coaching staff, we didn't have our concerns about what to expect this year. Besides figuring out what to do on the diamond, we were handling a bunch of young boys that had to grow up and become men this year because of a tragic incident that happened to not only one of their brothers on the diamond, but a dear friend in their lives that they looked up to and respected deeply. This offseason didn't necessarily go the way I felt like it should have, with a lot of inconsistency regarding players showing up and getting themselves ready to go mentally and physically both. We've always had pretty good participation, which has translated into a lot of success during the course of the year. But when opening day arrived, we started with a loss to a homeschool team, the St. Louis Patriots, and in the beginning of the year with our tournament. In our first 7 games, we were 3-4 altogether. Not exactly what we had hoped for. And as coaches, even though our expectations remain high and the same as it always was, we're seeing a direct correlation between the inconsistency of off-season workouts and results in the diamond. Now, I will say that 2 of those 4 losses, though, came to actually to 2 teams and a total of 2 runs altogether. One of those games was against Jackson, where we stranded 12 runners on base. Twice, I think we had bases loaded, or at least second and third, and could not get a guy in. It was a pretty tough one to be a part of there. But remaining optimistic, things started to turn around, and I thought we got into a groove. Over our next 11 games, we went 9-2, with our 2 losses coming to Farmington and Hillsboro. Both of those games where we had leads at least halfway through the game. During that run, we beat eventual district champion Park Hills 7-1, a talented Festus team 8-4, a much improved Potosi team 2-1, and a very tough Perryville team 5-4, which we had lost to 8-4 earlier in the season. While we didn't finish out the season like we had played during the middle part of it, we battled every game and remained competitive, even in our losses, and we finished the season at 14-10. Some players achieved a lot of personal success, and I believe that that's due to their hard work in the off season. Now, we'll get on to the players, but before we go into the players, I have to introduce first our managers, who, like Coach Gibson said, put up with a lot. Those young ladies would be Ms. Megan Klein, Caitlin Palmer, Hannah Scott, Emma Meyer, Kylie Kennard, and Darren Brown. These young ladies have to they have to put up with quite a bit, and usually there's kind of a warning before we ever even start, and that's, how to deal with Coach Gibson. And just know that, he's all bark and no bite, so he's a pretty good guy, and they get used to him pretty quickly. But, these ladies do a lot of things that, don't go, noticed or anything, doesn't go on the sports page, anything like that. And you may say, well, why is there so many of them? Well, it's because there's a lot to do, and plus they make for long evenings, especially when we have home games. We may get out to the ballpark at 4 o'clock and may not leave until 9 or 9:30. So to ask everybody to stay that entire time gets pretty tough, so we kind of designate 3 of them to stay during JV, 3 of them to stay during varsity, but most of the time they always have a job to do. And they bear, the cold and everything of the practices just like these guys do during the course of the year as well. So all of their hard work and runs to McDonald's to get chocolate shakes for everybody is definitely much appreciated. Now on to our players. We'll go with freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and then our seniors. First, freshman Waylon Kemper. It may not have been the highlight of his older brother's day to see him in the same dugout, but I definitely know it made Mom and Dad happy. Waylon is a member of a trio of freshmen that we have that have played a lot of baseball over the years, but his hard work, attitude, and just outright grit earned him the varsity jersey. And it was pretty interesting, too, to see him and his older brother in the dugout at the same time. I get to experience a little bit of what goes on at home, so it was pretty fun, especially in practice when Jacob is trash talking him quite a bit, and Waylon's playing third base and talking about how he's going to hit it down his throat and all this other kind of stuff, and then he hits it to him, and Waylon throws him out of first base. Oh yeah, twice. Our next freshman, Wyatt Lalamandir, a.k.a. Kenny Miller. Wyatt started every game for us in the outfield and served as our leadoff man all season. That's a pretty tall thing to do for a freshman. For the season, he batted .368, had an on-base percentage of .500, which meant he reached base safely at least half the time, scored 27 runs, walked 17 times, and stole. We don't know if it's a school record or not. There's really hasn't been any records or anything, but stole 13 bases for us this year as well. Wyatt has a pretty high baseball ceiling if he continues to work hard and have the positive attitude he possesses at the current time. Our next freshman, Dalton Giesler. Dalton was counted on to do a lot of things for us this year. Every day at practice, he would ask, Coach, where am I going today? I mean, he had, I think, 3 different gloves, and he'd just come up and you just kind of pick one and say, you're going right there. It's a good problem to have when you have a guy that can do a lot of different things. It's even a better problem when he's only a freshman. For the season, Dalton batted .293, walked 11 times, drove in 11 runs, scored 11 times. Well, lots of 11s there. And nearly half of his 17 hits went for extra bases. Those would be our freshmen. Our next person would be sophomore Jake Brewster. Nope, no Jake. On the juniors, Cody Stacy. Cody started off the year a little rough, but hit his stride on the mound after a few games, pitching us through some of our toughest games, including a 4-hit complete game against Park Hills and a 2-hit complete game against Potosi, only allowing 1 run in each of those games. Cody's hitting came around a little bit more this year, and he finished the year batting .348, drove in 10, and he scored 11 times himself. On the mound, he had a 3.87 ERA and struck out 40 batters in 43.1 innings of work. Our next junior, Drew Schmelsley. Drew's defense struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year, but he picked it up and made a conscious effort to fix it, starting after the DeSoto game and during our 9-2 run. The one thing that remained consistent about him all year was his hitting. Drew was one of the mainstays in the cage during the offseason, and it definitely showed. For the year, he batted a whopping .465, had an on-base percentage of .526, drove in 15 runs, and scored a total of 26. With another year of growth and maturity, I look for a lot of good things from Drew next season. Our next junior, Tate Meyer. As you can see, he plays first base. He's a pretty tall guy. Job for first base is a battle at the beginning of the season, and I forgot, he's a shortstop. And a pitcher and a catcher. He does it all. First base is kind of a toss-up at the beginning of the year. Defensively, both the guys we had competing for that job did an excellent job over there, but ultimately offense was the determining factor. Tate does a great job thinking about game situations and executing on defense. He played a lot of JV this year to try and get his hitting more on track. With a lot of work this offseason, he can improve on his hitting, but as long as he remains consistent in the field, he's going to be pretty tough over there first base for us next season. Next, Blake Meyer. Blake is a guy I would like to have seen a lot more this offseason. I think he could have benefited greatly on offense. Blake's biggest problem at times is Blake. He's done a wonderful job for us at third, but one miscue, and it just seems like somebody dropped a nuclear bomb, right next to him or something like that. It looks like, mass destruction or something. But, the thing about it is Blake is a good player. And he can definitely help this team succeed next year, and he can even step it up a notch if he puts in the time to do so. For the season, he hit .280 with 11 RBIs and 11 runs scored. Our next junior, Nevada McAlpin. No Nevada. Brandon LaRose. No Brandon. Andrew DeRouche. And I think Coach Gibson has it down now. I didn't know if it was DeRouche or DeRoos.
It's DeRouche.
It was DeRoos for a long time this year until he finally asked him about 3/4 of the way through the year. Is it DeRoos or DeRouche? Yeah, well, I've been coaching you since 8th grade, he said. Andrew started off the year on fire. Andrew has a very compact swing. That was not intentional. I mean, God. You think you're red right now. Andrew has a very compact swing and is based on our overall choice to hit in the number 3 spot right after Drew for most of the season. And if you can look at Drew and then you can look at Andrew, all right, you can see why we batted Drew first. This was Coach Schwint's idea because Drew's strike zone is really big. When you get to Andrew's strike zone, it's about the size of a postage stamp. So, it's hard for batters. Hard for pitchers to pitch to him. I'm still flustered over that comment. Gosh. But, Andrew had a good eye during the course of the year, too. He hit a little bit of a funk about halfway through the year, was still a dangerous bat in the lineup, can play just about any position on the field. He and Dalton were kind of like our Jose Oquendos for the team. For the season, he hit a total of .355, had on base percentage of .452, drove in 13 runs, scored 19 times, walked 12 times, and stole 7 bases for us. All right. Next, I want to go through our seniors. First, Aaron Stupi, a.k.a. Mumbles. I love all my ball players, but I have a soft spot in my heart for Aaron, mainly because he has absolutely worked hard for everything he's got in the past 4 years. He may not have been blessed with the most athletic talent, but he's done everything and anything any of us coaches have ever asked from him during his time. Now, he usually said, yes, sir, you know, or something like that, even though we had to ask him about 3 times. What'd you say, Aaron? Aaron gets excited sometimes and doesn't enunciate as much or anything. But he means well, definitely. Aaron probably has taken more bumps and bruises than any of his fellow seniors. I think there was one span where I think we went through, 5 or 6 games where he got hit at least one time during those games and got hit a total of 8 times during the course of the year. For his senior season, Aaron hit .459, drove in 28 runs, scored 16 times. Well, actually, he didn't score 16 times. Brandon LaRose ran for him, and I think Brandon scored 16 times. Aaron had an on-base percentage of .560, so he's on base nearly 60% of the time. This is Aaron Stupi. Nice job, Aaron. Next senior, Jacob Kemper. Kemp is another kid who's gotten everything out of his ability. Another hard worker who mirrors that of the person standing right next to him. Over the last few years, you'd be hard-pressed to find 2 guys who spent more time in the cage. Now, unlike Stupi, Jake has yet to subscribe to wearing a protective cup full-time. Aaron's had a few instances where he proved that the supporter does not necessarily always protect as much as what you would hope. Now, I just assume that our infielders have enough common sense to wear one. Not. But apparently I was mistaken during one of our last games. Jacob didn't come up with a hard line drive that was hit right at him. It's pretty evident from the way he was gingerly walking around that he left his protective gear someplace else. Now, I don't know if he got hit in the head at some point by one of his brothers or not, but Jacob's head was definitely in the right place this year. Sometimes, well, a lot of times, he tends to overthink things. But this year was completely different. He just played. In 1 year's time, with a lot of hard work, he doubled the amount of hits he had last year in the same amount of at-bats. He finished the year with 34 hits, batting .447, an on-base percentage of over .500, walked 10 times. Now, if you asked him why he got walked 10 times, he'll tell you about the 2 or 1 intentional walk because the other team was scared to pitch to him. That was twice. See, he remembers. He scored 12 times, had 15 RBIs. Not bad for only batting .222 last season. Jacob Kemper. Our next senior, Jack Hook. Jack was a pleasant surprise this season. Out of everyone who came in and worked out in the offseason, I would say Jack was there the most of anyone. Just look at those guns. When we were looking for someone to fill a hole defensively in the outfield, Jack seized the moment and provided a steady glove for us. His hitting wasn't necessarily where we would like for it to have been, but late in the game, he was a go-to type of guy that we could put in to help us defensively. The few at-bats he did get, he made the most of. Speaking of making the most of, base running opportunities. Now, Jack isn't necessarily a blaze of speed out on the base paths or anything, but if you ask him, he can take just about any base whenever he's out there. So much so that when we played St. Pius, he was on third base, and St. Pius's backstop is probably only about 20 feet behind the catcher. Okay, I'm sorry, not even that. The ball went past the catcher, and Jack saw daylight. Jack just took off in a mad dash, and it was like that scene out of Major League whenever Willie Mays Hayes goes to steal second base and he stops up short because the ball is already at second base and the guy's looking at him with the ball saying, come on. Jack got thrown out by quite a bit. We asked him what he's thinking in the dugout. He goes, well, I don't know what I was thinking, Coach. But, you know, I think that Jack's a guy that we can count on to keep the climb in the dugout nice and loose. Maybe a little too loose at times, but he's definitely a pleasure to coach and have on the team. Jack Hook. Our next senior, Logan Gegg. Logan made huge strides after sitting out of baseball for nearly a year and a half. As I said earlier, it was a fight for who was going to be or who was going to get the first base job, but Logan was determined to make it happen, and he seized that moment. He was a steady glove at first and turned into a pretty good hitter about a third of the way into the season. I decided to give Logan a bit of a mental break at one point during the season against Crystal City. We weren't hitting all that well, and the game just seemed to be getting a little bit stale. Now, if a coaching move works out, you look like a genius. But if your move ends up failing, well, we've been around enough Monday morning quarterbacks to know how that story goes. But anyway, we put Logan up in a pretty pivotal situation, and he hits a complete bomb to center field to break a tie and then spark a go-ahead victory. Logan this year, like I said, for after sitting out nearly a year and a half, almost 2 years of baseball, ended up hitting nearly 300 for us at 296, walked 11 times, scored 10 times, drove in 11, and hit some of the longest balls of anybody this year. Logan Gegg. Our next senior, Kyle Brown. Not sleeping. Adam Fisher. Fish. Adam is another one of our seniors that has been around all 4 years and has contributed greatly toward our overall success. Not too often do you get a guy that wants to do one thing and one thing only, and that's just pitch. Hey, Adam, want to hit? Nah, I think I'll be all right, Coach. During one of our games, I had to take Adam out. I think it was the Farmington game, and he was pitching just fine. He's doing great. But because of the spot that I entered him in the lineup, it was due up the next inning to hit. Now, we pinch hit for him and everything and put another pitcher in later on. And the next day, Adam came in and was saying something about, I think him and his mom were having a little bit of conversation. And his mom was wondering, well, why did Coach take you out right there? And I don't know if these are the exact words or not, but I think he replied something like, Mom, have you seen me hit? You know, it's great as a coach to have a player who knows his role, and Fish's role was to pitch. He helped out with drills during the year and did whatever was necessary to help the team. Then when his number was called to go to the mound, he was going to be an absolute bulldog and give everything he had. One game in particular happened when he played Perryville toward the end of the season, and Logan overheard Perryville's bench talking some trash about Fish. Logan, of course, went and told Adam, and let's just say the words that came out of Adam's mouth weren't exactly suited for a PG-13 movie. Needless to say, it was exactly the jolt that he needed on his way to a complete game victory over a good team. I think even though he went out on the mound I went out on the mound at one point during the 7th inning, contemplating taking him out of the game for a different pitcher, and before I could say anything at all, he just said, Coach, you're not taking me out. I'm finishing this. Okay, enough said. See you, Adam. Good luck. And he did a fantastic job. Adam finished the year leading us in wins with a 4-3 record, second in innings pitched with 36.2, second in strikeouts with 25, and our overall ERA leader with a 3.24 ERA. Mr. Adam Fisher. Now, as I said at the beginning, I'd be lying to you if I said we all knew what to expect from this year's team. We knew they had the capability of doing some pretty good things, but would be able to maximize our potential for this year. I heard a coach once say, there's no such thing as overachieving. If you achieve something you haven't before, all you're showing is that you're capable of doing it. So for some to say that we may have overachieved this year, after losing a lot of starters and everything last year, I don't believe it, because I thought we showed a lot of capabilities within this team. One example that I would have to give would be that our overall team batting average for this year was an astounding 360. Now, in our years of coaching and everything, since Coach Gibson and I have been at the helm, we've only had one season where we have batted below 300 as a team. And you think about it, 300, you succeed 3 out of 10 times, but heck, that's a Hall of Famer who fails 7 out of those 10 times. But for us to bat 360, that was the highest that any team we have coached had done that. And at the beginning of the year, we thought this might be the second team that was going to bat below 300. So I think that right there shows that you don't overachieve, you achieve what you're capable of, and these guys definitely achieved some things that they were capable of, and that was one of those things. Now, I have to say that these are some pretty amazing kids up here. People often say baseball is a boys' game played by a bunch of men. Sometimes that little boy, I think, gets lost in the shuffle a little bit out of all the routine and monotony that takes place each day. However, every once in a while, you kind of catch a glimpse of that boyish grin from one of the guys when they do something pretty spectacular or something silly happens on the field or in the dugout, and you remember what it's like to be a kid again. That's a trait that I think that their fallen teammate Dennis possessed and infected others with. That boyish grin that reminded you how fun things really are. This is a pretty special group to be a part of this year, and they should all know, especially the seniors, of how proud their teammate is and their friend is of all of them. All of you seniors will be missed by the coaching staff and your fellow teammates, and we couldn't be more proud of you for the young men you've turned into. You truly are a bunch of brothers, and thank you for being a part of the St. Genevieve Dragon baseball family. Your 2014 St. Genevieve Dragon baseball team. We do have just a few awards here, 5 awards real quick. Our RBI leader this year, all right, goes to Mr. Aaron Stupi with 28 RBIs on the season. For batting average leader this year, Drew Schmelsley, 465 batting average. For our outstanding pitcher award, this is a guy I thought we could count on in just about any situation and not too many things rattle him at all, Adam Fisher. Our Dirty Uniform Award, which signifies a guy that basically would be up there, you know, to sacrifice himself and get that uniform dirty and take it home to mom and dad and say, here you go. Our Dirty Uniform Award this year goes to Jacob Kemper. Our MVP award this year, I think, helps embody somebody that puts the team above himself, has a lot of personal success, but I think that people maybe look up to quite a bit. Doesn't necessarily have to be a vocal leader, but somebody that can lead by example. And I think that person this year, I think anybody would say would be Aaron Stupi. And the very last thing I want to say real quick, we are able to announce our all-district players. I'm sorry we can't announce all conference players, guys, because Valley is still playing in the playoffs and everything, so we can't release that list yet. Sorry. But all districts, since Park Hills did lose their game earlier, we had 2 first-team selections, and they were both unanimous selections by all the coaches in our district. Those 2 players are Aaron Stupi and Drew Schmelsley. We also had 2 second-team all-district players this year as well. Those 2 players were Jacob Kemper and Wyatt Lalamandir. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. I think everybody was kind of saying that this year was going to be a rebuilding year for you guys, and that's a perfect opportunity for you guys to make an excuse, a built-in excuse right from the start on why you didn't do well, but you guys did not see it as that. The coaches, the players did not see it as that, and you guys had a tremendous season, and very proud and honored to watch you guys play in a difficult season, but a successful one, so congratulations. We've got golf as our final sport tonight. Saving the best for last, right, Coach Schweiss?
That's right.
So Coach Schweiss is going to come up and speak about the golf season.
All right. Last year, everybody made fun of me because I had a yellow legal pad, and they called me Weiler. So I figured I'd go more 21st century this year, and then Coach Nix puts me last, and now I'm almost out of batteries. So it is what it is. We're going to get through this before this thing goes dead. But I do need to give some thank yous. I'll try not to echo everybody else too much. But first off, I need to thank the people out at the golf course, Superintendent Vessel and Dale Curry, the golf pro, and Lindsay Hogemiller, and the entire staff out there. The grounds crew, they do an amazing job. Our course, it's a luxury for us to have that 18-hole course and not have it to share with any other school. I know a lot of the other schools in our conference are very jealous of that because they have to share it with several different school districts. So it really is an honor to play out there, and we appreciate everything they do for us. Also, I want to thank our parents for all the time, effort, and expense that they put into their children's golfing. Golf, even more so than a lot of the other sports, it requires a ton of cost, and it's a big sacrifice for our parents to make for those kids. I'm popping my peas too, Coach. It's an extreme sacrifice, and I know that, and I appreciate that, and thank you very much. To Mr. and Mrs. DeRouche for taking all the pictures and sharing all the pictures. We truly appreciate that. I know our yearbook staff appreciates that. It's not always the most convenient thing to get to, and for you guys to do that for us was awesome this year, so thank you. To Mrs. Drury, who shared an awesome breakfast with our kids. That was pretty cool. We see that done a lot of times for the other sports, and for our golfers to get to experience that this year before our tournament, we really appreciate that. To Mr. Toombs for help transporting once and coming out to the course and supporting our kids, we thank you. Also, I want to thank the members of the media that help publicize our results and give our kids recognition, the Herald, Sun-Times, KTJJ, KFMO. Also, thanks to Coach Nix for all his support and help during the season. He does so much behind the scenes for all of us, and it doesn't go unnoticed or unappreciated. Lastly, certainly not least, I want to thank my wife, Nikki, for being willing to stick it out with a 2- and 5-year-old at home while I'm out playing on the golf course with the kids. She sacrifices quite a bit, and I appreciate that. Now, on to the season. We're going to start with the JV. I don't think any of them are here, so we're not going to talk much, but they were 4-3 in matches and participated in 4 tournaments. The JV golfers included Sean Beck, Eva Gassier, Seth Martin, Luke Turk, and Michael Turk. They're all 5 freshmen. They'll all be back next year. We hope that they can contribute. Also, we had 3 seniors that kind of bounced around varsity and JV back and forth, and they are Ryan Kemper, Wes Klein, and Sam Schwint. They're all 4-year seniors, and they will all graduate and attend college next year, and we will miss them. The last group that I want to talk about is the varsity squad, and they're pretty much all here. So our varsity was 8-7 this year. We graduated 6 seniors last year, and basically came back with 1 returning player on the team, 1 returning varsity player on the team. And we were coming off a pretty good year last year. We were 2nd in conference, and pretty much the coaches in the conference kind of when we have our conversations, they go through everybody, where they think everybody's going to finish, etc. At the beginning of the season, and nobody really gave us much of a shot. And by the end of the year, we started to open some eyes because we had some young kids that were really stepping up and really coming into their own. We were 8-7. We finished middle of the pack for the most part in our varsity tournaments, but the most important thing was that our scores, both individually and as a team, got better and better and better as we went along. I'm going to talk about these individually, and pretty much all of them have an award because they all exceeded in some way or another at different points in the year. So as they get their awards, you guys can come up and I'll talk about you. The first one is Nathan McClin. Nathan's a sophomore. Nathan was the only member of our team to attain all conference honors. Nathan shot an 89 at Crown Point on a very tough day to earn his all conference honors. Nathan is capable of being a tremendous contributor for us over the next 2 years, and hopefully will be competing for the #1 spot next season. He needs to put some time in out of the season to improve his consistency, but he is a tremendous teammate and does everything that is asked of him to do. I look forward to watching his improvement over the course of the next couple of years. The next award goes to Dylan Burr. The award is Sectional Qualifier. Dylan had a pretty crazy season this year. He started as a freshman on the JV team, and after spending the first half of the season there, he shot a great round at Forshey Valley, which for those of you that are familiar with the area, that's a pretty tough course, at a JV tournament. So meanwhile, several of our older players were struggling, so I decided to give Dylan a shot and thought, what can we lose? He's a freshman. Let's plug him in there and see what happens. Well, Dylan just kept getting better. And before districts, we went out for a practice round at Crown Point, a round that Dylan would probably like to forget, but wasn't his best day. And when I dropped him off that night, I said, tomorrow's a new day. And he just looked at me and he said, I know. And if you know Dylan at all, he didn't say much. But Dylan did not disappoint. The next day, he came back to Crown Point with a new attitude. He put together his best round of the year on the hardest course of the year, and he shot a 91 and was the only golfer on the team to qualify for sectionals. The next award, I split it between two of them, and it goes to Trevor Drury and Madison DeRouche. This award is called the Spirit of the Game, and to my knowledge, it's never gone to a freshman, much less two, but here they are. And basically what this award is, it goes to someone who embodies what it means to be a golfer. And I felt that both of these equally deserved it. It's an absolute joy watching these two play because they have so much respect for the game. There is rarely a time in watching these two play, there's rarely a time in or out of the season where you go to the course and you don't see one of these two out there. They take every shot and play every hole like they are competing for a green jacket. No mulligans, no gimmies, no fluffing the ball, no carts, just golf. And that's the only way they'd have it. They love the game, and it's an honor to watch them play. As you can see, we have over here a sophomore, a freshman, a freshman, and a freshman. And we got a couple juniors that couldn't be here. Well, Tim Schweigert, sorry, I skipped him. Low average of the season was Tim Schweigert. He's not here, he's working tonight. But we have these four, along with two juniors coming back next year. Varsity team only consists of 5 for tournaments and 6 for matches. With the talent standing over here in this corner, great things can be accomplished. I'm confident that this group of golfers, supported by some talented JV players, have the potential to shock the conference next year and not only compete, but win a conference title. They have a tremendous work ethic, they support one another, and they try to make each other better every day, and they always have fun playing. I have been honored to be a part of their season and look forward to seeing them grow. This is our 2014 golf team.
Okay. As you can see, we have a lot of potential in the youth of our golf team, and they are going to be something special here in the next couple of years. Parents, thank you very much. The fact that you are here this evening to support your children just shows the support that you have for them on a constant daily basis. And kids, student athletes that are here this evening, take a minute to thank your parents, not only for showing up tonight to support you, but for everything that they do throughout the season, getting you to practice, making sure that you do things on time, getting your uniform clean and things like that. Hey, not done yet, guys. Thanks, baseball team. I'm getting there. All right, but thank you guys, thank you parents. You're a tremendous asset to our entire sports programs and especially to our kids. A couple of things really quick. We're going to do 50-50, so if you had a 50-50, I think the total tonight is $58. If you have the winning ticket, bring it up to the front with you so I know that you're not a liar. And no, bring your ticket with you, please, if you are the winner, and I'm going to draw that right now here in front of everybody. Okay? 50-50 winner goes to ticket number 410715. 410715. If you won, you can come up now or you can come up later, either way. And there she is. Hey, Jessica Boyer. You're gonna keep that, put it toward college. Okay. Drawings for the boys and girls track and baseball banners. Drawing those right now before your eyes as well. These banners will be here later. Sheila Henderson over at Portrait Gallery will get those to us, and I will get that to you very soon, hopefully. Aaron Stupi for the baseball. Boys track. Jonas Schwent. And this must be girls' track. Tony German. All right. Congratulations to everyone here tonight for your season throughout the spring, and thank you for coming, and have a great evening.
Channel 7 and 98 TV and web broadcasting are made possible through contributions and donations from viewers like you. Thank you for your support.